President Biden getting roasted by members of his own party for becoming an afterthought, even though technically, according to the calendar and the law, he's still president.
Trump isn't president yet. A fact that's getting easier and easier to forget as Joe Biden seems to be disappearing from the public stage as his term comes to an end.
Joe Biden believes in tradition and institutions, and we should only have one president at a time. And I think it's a surprising choice to allow it to be Donald Trump.
Fox News contributor Joe Concha joins us now. Those were, of course, the Obama bros of the Pod Save America podcast. So, Joe, what do you think about that? I keep on wondering where President Biden is amid this drone situation where many Americans are wondering if we're in a national security crisis. He hasn't said anything about that yet.
Oh, yeah. Last night was another fun night above my house here in Jersey. That's certainly for sure. And look, Donald Trump, let's face it, is the acting president right now, Carly, even 32 days before his inauguration. I mean, it was he who was at the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris recently. It was he who met with President Macron. It's he who is currently negotiating with Mexico and China to help secure our borders. Even this past Monday, he was able to get the CEO of SoftBank, it's a huge company based in Japan, to pledge $100 billion with a B dollars in U.S. investment. Meanwhile, the only time we ever hear about the current president, Joe Biden, is when he's breaking another record for pardons and clemencies. He went to Delaware yesterday. Apparently now it's going to be a 5 or 6 day weekend or longer at his beach house in Delaware. It's a sad ending to a sad presidency, and it makes you ask the question again, who is running the country right now?
Yeah, it's quite a legacy for Biden if his own party thinks that he has quit the job this early on. Meantime, a former Harris campaign official says there's no value, get this, in speaking to mainstream newspapers, telling Semaphore, quote, there's just no value in a general election to speaking to the New York Times or speaking to the Washington Post because those readers are already with us. Joe, your reaction?
I mean, talk about saying the quiet part out loud, Todd. I mean, to say that, hey, why should we even talk to the New York Times or the Post because all of the readers are already voting for us anyway, that is 100% accurate because look at the track record of the New York Times, for example. They haven't endorsed a Republican presidential candidate in 64 years. 16 straight presidential elections, they said, vote for the Democrat. That means vote McGovern, Carter twice, Mondale, Dukakis, Kerry, and Kamala Harris. The Washington Post has never endorsed a Republican presidential candidate ever. The readership basically now consists of the same people who think that MSNBC is a news network. So, yeah, I guess she shouldn't have wasted her time talking to those papers, but she could have gone on the Joe Rogan podcast and didn't. She could have held a wide-ranging press conference like Donald Trump did on Monday, but didn't. She could have attended the Al Smith dinner, but didn't. From a strategy perspective, Todd, Carly, once again, the Kamala campaign showed that while genius has its limits, stupidity definitely does not.
Okay, so there's also this, Joe. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wanted to be the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, but didn't get the votes. And apparently that's because former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was behind this, making phone calls to whip votes for Congressman Jerry Connolly. Joy Reid is not happy about it. Listen.
Ooh. AOC and Jasmine Crockett are probably two of their best communicators. And, you know, you have people that have the skills, but they're not pushing them forward.
That's right.
Gerontocracy seems like it's intractable. And I recall that when President Obama was elected, he kind of pushed aside the DNC and created his own organization because I think there's a frustration with the sort of creaky way the DNC operates.
Thoughts on this Democrat divide, Joe?
Wow. Let's first define intractable. According to Siri, it means hard to control or work with. Basically, the opposite of you, Carly. But as usual, it's Christmas. Come on. Instead of just saying that maybe people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are incompetent, that she simply is a social media star on the left and not a serious legislator, not one bill she's ever sponsored or co-sponsored ever became law, for example. She's the very essence of being all foam and no beer. Maybe her own party roundly rejected her because maybe she just isn't right for the job. Maybe she would make everything about herself. Maybe there are a few Democrats that are actually interested in working with Donald Trump instead of leading a Joy Reid-like resistance, which has proven futile. So, yeah, she didn't get the job because maybe she doesn't deserve the job. It has nothing to do with the color of her skin or her age. That certainly is for sure.
There's a backhanded compliment. He's implying like you're nice on Christmas.
Yeah, I got it.
Come Easter,
I'm picking up what he's putting down.
You are some measure of trouble. Why she puts on those Easter bunny ears? Watch out.
I am intractable then. I am tractable then.
Tractable. Joe Concha, always tractable. Thanks, Joe.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.